Well, I woke up this morning and got ready, and I saw this shirt and was like, this feels very odd taxi. So we're on the penultimate episode of the main series. I know we still have audio dramas and a movie afterwards, so we're in the final month of odd taxi, so to speak, but it feels weird. It feels very weird to be on the penultimate episode, even though it feels like a penultimate episode because everything's led up to this point. We have the robbery that's about to take place, allegedly. We have Dobu in place to try to get the money from Yano. We have Yano and Saguchi in place with Amai to go get the money. Big Diamond is supposedly in place. Little Diamond is a concern because I think Little Diamond has been shooting at Dobu, and also I think that we still have Tanaka on the loose with a gun. We have two characters that are potentially unstable with guns, and that makes me very nervous. Then we have Gariki trying to figure out everything about Otakawa's past. Otakawa thinks he's playing 3D chess with everybody. Shirakawa's in on it. It's a lot. And then in the background, we found out last week about Rui's backstory and everything involving her and the murder of the daughter of Don Raku, who is friends with the boss. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I have a feeling it's going to be a lot this week with this episode, and it's the penultimate episode, and next week's like the season finale. So, okay. I don't have any comments to talk about. There have been comments on the videos. They've been awesome. I love hearing all of your thoughts about the characters and about the show. But everybody's being very hush-hush, which I appreciate from the standpoint of not having spoilers. So I appreciate that. But I imagine floodgates are going to erupt either this episode or next week. So, but then we have the movie and the audio drama, so who knows? But anyway, so before we get started, I want to give a massive shout out over to our philanthropy tier over on Patreon. Everybody on Patreon is super nice. I don't get monetized with YouTube videos. I don't monetize my YouTube videos right now. It's just, I don't. And so I feel like there's a little bit more freedom with what I can say if I don't do that. So I appreciate that. But with that, my only source of any type of revenue from this channel is from my Patreon. And I appreciate everybody who are patrons over there. People that just stop by for free, people who just want to get on the Discord and talk about shows, people who just want to vote in the polls, who just want to get their videos a week earlier than everybody on YouTube, and those in the philanthropy tier who give me a little extra each month just because they're nice people. So y'all are awesome. But I give you a shout out in my videos because of that. So Alex Cornejo, Be Happy, Bisa, Dana, Damage 3245, Daniel, Devorin, Destiny Marie, as well as Ichu, Eric, Fisho, Ghostly Turnip, El Freya, Lyndon, Liam Posel, Mochi-kun, Murphew, Willie Morris, Translucent Men, Sunspots, Shimoyama, Daniel, and Dawood Knight. Thank you so much for all of your support. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love. So yeah, I don't have anything else to say except that I am absolutely terrified as to what's going to happen this week. So anytime there's the penultimate episode, I'm like, things are going to go down. And there was a lot of setup last week. It was just like ticket on the roller coaster. So I guess we'll see. But anyway, thank you all for watching with me and listening to the discussion. We are going to start episode 12 of Odd Taxi. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's do it to it. Well, that still leaves a lot for next week. That still leaves a lot for next week, actually. I honestly, if I'm being real with you all, I expected more to go down in this episode. But we've been left with quite a lot to get through next week. And then again, we have the audio dramas, we have the movie, there's other things that will happen. But I was just like, I was kind of just shocked, honestly, because I expected a lot more. Usually the penultimate episode is where everything goes down, which a lot happened this week, to be sure. But usually the penultimate episode is where everything like really crashes to a head, and like the following episode is the fallout and the aftermath and the resolution. We're not to the climax yet. This is building up to the climax, but it's not the climax of the series. So that's interesting. I'm like, okay. All right, show. Okay. So, this episode, though, Dobu, I mean, if Dobu's not dead, then is definitely incapacitated. But this episode's called Not Enough. And so the whole time, if we're framing this correctly, I feel like Otakawa wanted Imai to check that extra case to avoid all of the stuff happening. But Otakawa really was playing 3D chess in this episode because he was banking on, okay, if plan A goes through, then we don't have to do plan B. But if plan B happens, then we do that. And if that doesn't work, like Otakawa had a lot of different ideas and different things set up that was so fascinating. And to see it play out, you could tell Otakawa wanted things to go like the easiest route where the less people could get hurt. But the fact of the matter is, Otakawa put that tracker in the van and led Tanaka to them. Now, with that being said, did Otakawa know that Tanaka had the extra bullet or not? Well, no, because up until this point, here's some things that have not been, like Little Diamond shooting at Dobu has not been addressed. Not been addressed at all. And so no one knows that it was Little Diamond. Nobody knows. They all think it was Tanaka and that he shouldn't have an extra bullet. But Otakawa knows now, because of what happened, that Tanaka did have an extra bullet, which meant somebody else shot at Dobu. Now, whether or not he vocalizes that to us next week, I don't know. We'll see. But the fact of the matter is that Tanaka, I felt bad for Tanaka. I'm not going to lie to y'all. In this episode, I felt bad. But that whole scene, we'll talk about it. Tanaka did, in fact, shoot Dobu, who we come to find out was the person that scammed him all those years ago. And the eraser came back. Dobu literally shot himself in the foot in this episode for a lot of reasons, but let's get back into this. So Otakawa, we just need to go through there. He's like, check a second case. Just check it, Imai. And I'm not surprised that Imai didn't do it because Imai was just so dejected at that point. He didn't care at that point. Mystery Kiss was, as far as he's concerned, disbanded. So he was just like, whatever. But there's just a part of you that has the what if he had checked a second case? Would Dobu still be alive and not shot or not shot? That's all up in the air, right? We don't know. But he was so dejected he didn't check the second case, which these two people are the ones that helped Dobu out. They're just sweating bullets the entire time. Honestly, when Yano was like, let's check the second case, I thought they were going to, but then Saguchi was like, no, let's just get out of here. I'm like, Yano could have very well done what Otakawa wanted Imai to do from the start, and it just did not end up working. He's like, he did a check earlier, and he checks the first case, but it's like, you know, the fact that Yano wanted to check a second case and they didn't do it is just the way things work, you know? He's like, with a single verse, I make all these rhymes fit. I can see your darting eyes, your powerless paws. And then Saguchi's like, we need to leave this place first. Yano being off his game and not rhyming the entire time, and when he stops rhyming, Saguchi notices. That was insane. That was really cool. Mm-hmm. And so then they head out, and Dobu, the police car with Big Diamond follows, and then Dobu has them gather up all the rest of the money and go. Wild times. So, again, Otakawa, one thing that helps Otakawa out in this series for us, the audience, not to be able to pinpoint what he's thinking is that he's so, like, stoic-faced the entire time. But yeah, he puts the tracker in there, and he talks about, look, is this the first time you've seen this many bills? I like Otakawa's like, you're going to pay your taxi fare, right? So they go to the wharf, they chase there, and go after that way. Then we, meanwhile, have the police station, where it says the Special Fraud Prevention Campaign, National Traffic Safety Campaign, and they're like, I heard he lost his gun. He's too scared to report it, so he's running away. So the rumor with Little Diamond is that he lost his gun and that he ran away and that he's an idiot. is the, you know, like the stereotype, the generalization, the views of Little Diamond, which is interesting because it's almost like the police station is setting up an alibi for Little Diamond. Like they're setting it up based on rumors. Little Diamond being presented to the police station that they view him as an idiot and they think he's lost his gun and was running away. Well, if he shoots somebody and ends up giving the gun away, it's like they would believe it. So it's wild how all that has worked out. I'm very curious what they're going to do with Little Diamond in the next episode. I'm really curious. And then we have Don Raku. There were a lot of moments in this episode that were really heartbreaking. They're like, the little brother really is a huge idiot. Confirming who they're talking about. I want to point out the people I felt sorry for in this episode. First of all, there's Don Raku, who is he's talking to Kuro. So Kuro, we finally get a name for the boss. Kuro is the boss with the Yakuza tattoos. Kuro meaning black, so the fact that he's a black anteater makes sense now. But I feel bad for Don Raku because he's clearly distraught. His daughters died. When he held the little bitty keychain that was all messed up in his hands, that was really sad. I felt really bad for him. He's like, they're distracting me. He's like, let's get a drink sometime. Like, I felt really bad because his daughter she didn't deserve to die. She really didn't. That's one of the big, I guess we should put over here, like, the mysteries that are left over. The mysteries that are left. Little Diamond is a little bit of a mystery to me because are we going to get confirmation about Dobu from him? We've got next episode. Maybe it'll wait till the post-season content. I don't know. Then who killed Don Raku's daughter? Yuki. Who killed her? That's my biggest question at this point, is we don't know who killed her. Because she died, allegedly. I mean, did Rui kill her and we just got it twisted from her perspective? Or who killed her? That's a big question. The OP has a very Fire Walk with Me vibe at the end. And I'm like, makes me want to rewatch Twin Peaks, which I need to do this fall anyway. But yeah. So, he's like, are you sure it's all right to meet with me? I don't care. I want to take a break for a while. So yeah, so anyway, they have on here, there's somebody checking their phone for the status, and it says, Don Raku, Shofute, distraught, sheds tears over daughter's body, extended hiatus, and the person's like, apparently he stepped down from judging, and they're like, well, surely he'll judge the main event. There's some social commentary in this episode that just kind of makes your heart break a little bit. I do think it's hilarious that the comedy duo that's talking about this are a tortoise and a hare. That part's really clever. I think that's really funny. But it's also kind of sad because they're like, well, he's going to judge, right? He lost his daughter. His daughter just died, and they found her in a horrific mess. There's no telling what this man's thinking. I can't imagine what he's going through. And the only thing running through these comedians' minds are, but he's going to judge, right? Like, you should be the last of his worries at this point. So then we have the losers bracket. Now I'm going to be really real with you all. I am not Japanese. I know, shocker. So sorry you had to find out this way. But nor am I from Japan. So the style of comedy that Shibagaki and Baba do, I am not privy to, nor does it seem like I tried to understand it when they're performing it, and I get it. I understand what the situational comedy that they're setting up. It's not particularly my type of stand-up, but I was really happy for them when they set up the bit about being the life full of regrets and the time machine. And then you had like the giraffe student in the foreground that was watching them. And everybody was starting to really like their performance, and it was really cute. I thought it was really funny that Shibagaki was playing the son. Like, that little bit was humorous because you don't expect the older comedian to play the kid and Baba being the dad. I thought that was fun, and it played on their personality types and everything. And they're just their energy back and forth was really, really cool. Also, the giraffe's holding the little pin. So again, if that comes into the audio drama, we shall see. But he's holding the little pin there. So we'll see about that when we view the audio dramas. But I felt really bad. He's like, is there nothing I can do about it? You're not even showing up to save your dying dad. And he's like, what else do you regret? And then it hits home. And then it hits home that Shibagaki is like, like, it's so sad. I felt so bad for Shibagaki in this because he regrets working with Baba. He's like, I had this dream to be a comedian, but I'm so sad now because my friendship with you is dissolving after this. Like, after this, it doesn't matter if we win or not. You're leaving, so what's the point? Like, I liked working with you, but none of that's going to matter after today. Like, I felt so sad for him. And Baba doesn't understand how he feels, and he thinks it's part of the bit. And he's like, my life is full of regrets. And he's like, I regret teaming up with you. I regret becoming a comedian. I shouldn't have chased my dreams. And it's really sad. I was like, oh no. And the thing about it is that we talked about it last week, but Shibagaki and Rui are very similar. They're both competitive, ambitious people who wanted to rise up and achieve their dreams. And then Baba is this guy that kind of just like is like go with the flow. And he's like, well, if this dream doesn't work out, I'll just do something different. I'm not too invested in it. It's fine. But we've seen like both ends of the spectrum. We've seen Rui, who appreciates Baba's passiveness because it gives her kind of, she's so tense and high wired that his passiveness gives her some like momentary relief. Like, oh, you don't judge me for not being perfect. And that's okay. That gives me comfort. But with Shibagaki, because they're not in like a romantic relationship, or because Shibagaki's different than Rui, Shibagaki views Baba's passiveness not as a relief or a comfort, but as something that he despairs over. He's like, oh, well, so it doesn't matter to you. And like, don't you care? And oh, you don't care. Well, then what was the point? Like, it's really interesting to see how Rui and Shibagaki both interact. They have similar competitive personalities, but they react so differently to Baba as a companion. And it's so interesting to see it break down between them. And I just feel so bad for Shibagaki. I really do. I was like, oh, and we don't get resolution in this episode with them. So it's like, where is that going to lead? What's that going to happen between them? We don't know. So Yano's still rapping up until the part where they get pulled over by Big Diamond. And so then he's like, I love Otakawa saying, I'm going to run the meter while I wait. And Dabu's like, ah, ha, 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 ha. I wondered what that van was called, but it's a Hi-Ace. It's a Japanese vehicle, I'm sure. So Big Diamond pulls them over to the side of the road, and everything goes, surprisingly, according to plan. I kept thinking throughout this that Little Diamond was going to show up, which he does at the end, but I thought he was going to show up in the middle of this. What's interesting is that Big Diamond is not immediately recognized by Yano or Saguchi. Instead, they open up the briefcases, and then they open up the second one. And when they check the second one, that's when they realize that it was fake. And that's when Yano freaks out. And he's like, why don't we chat in the patrol? And Yano's like, damn it. This part was amazing. When Yano goes back there, he's like, what the hell is this? It's newspaper. And these, all of them. And then I like that Saguchi is not freaking out about the money immediately. He's freaking out because Yano's not rapping and rhyming anymore. And he's like, what? He's like, your rhymes. You're not rhyming. The fact that the polar bear has been so used to Yano rapping this entire time has said nothing. He has had no reaction to Yano rapping the entire time. He has acted like it's the most normal thing ever because it's become normalized. The moment that Yano stops because he's freaking out about the money, the bear's like, hold on. That was amazing. I loved that. And he's like, well, look into these bankers, chop, chop. Yano freaking out is amazing. And he's like, why? So then he takes him back. He's like, everything was going so well. We were flying sky high. We'll be fine as long as we can clear up the misunderstanding. Oh my God. And Amai's like, what's going on? Now, if Amai was confronted by Big Diamond in this moment and was let go, you would think a normal person, someone who, but here's the thing, we're going to break it down. You would think they'd be like, why are you letting me go from the scene of a crime? Why are you letting me out of here? What? And the reason is because Big Diamond does not want Amai involved when Dobu steals the car back. Like, it's a setup. But I will give Amai a hardcore pass. One, because Amai is kind of simple. We all know this. We've seen this throughout the entire show. Bless his heart. Bless his heart is a good phrase to equip with Mai. But I love him so much. But also, Mai has been held hostage by two Yakuzas for a week and has lost faith in his entire, hobby outside of life, and now has like stuck in this tense moment where he doesn't know what's going on and he's confused. I don't blame Mai for walking away. I'm glad Mai gets out of the way, because this whole time leading up to this episode, as soon as we found out the plan, I was concerned for Mai because I thought he would get hurt. And now I'm like, okay, he's fine. We're all good. Good deal. So that was good. So I'm glad Mai was okay after all this. But he's like, you can go. He's like, I'll question you later. That will never happen in a police interrogation or a situation like this in real life. But Mai's like, okay, you'll get me the money. I don't want to die. Bye. Which Saguchi and Yano are immediately like, what? What's happening? But they get in the cop car and he's like, I tell you, he won the lottery. We were just helping him out since he doesn't have a ride. We didn't know about the counterfeits. Someone lied. And he gets back. I like that Yano gets back in the groove, gets back in the part about rapping. It's great. And he's like, are you really a cop? And he's like, well, of course I am. And the moment he shows the badge is when Dobu gets in the van and drives away. And then Yano's like, no, we've been screwed. He's working with Dobu. So they all go back. Now, the 100 million is still in the back of the taxi. So the 100 million, we're going to put this up here, still in the back of the taxi. Just for the record, the 900 million has been left, allegedly, to Mai. Now, whether or not Mai gets back to the van and gets it or not, because here's the thing. Is there a possibility that Dobu's dead? Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Is there a possibility that Dobu could have crawled his way to the van and got in while being shot? Yeah. Yeah, he could have left with the van and the money. Is he going to do that? I don't know. I don't think so. But there's a possibility. Stranger things have happened. But I'm not going to say Mai's run off with the 900 million yet. We just don't know. Now, I don't blame Otakawa for not interacting with Dobu in this moment, because Otakawa is trying to save some face with the dash cam. And Dobu's like, look, you can't hide this now. We've been working together this entire time. All this has been caught on film. Like, what are you doing? He's like, you're not going to betray me and back out of this. I'm taking that dash cam footage with me. But Otakawa's smart. He's like, well, I'm going to play this up. And the moment that Dobu said he was going to kill Shirakawa, I'm like, I do think, as Dobu's such a fascinating character in this show, because I didn't want him to get shot, obviously. I felt for his character in a lot of ways. I didn't want him to get shot, but then you're reminded he's a criminal and he's a thug and he would hurt people and would think nothing about it. And it's just, I love this show because it gives us very complex antagonistic characters. Like Yano. Yano's a fiend and would not hesitate to ice somebody and disposes of bodies, but yet he's likable and he raps and he's funny and you're like, oh, ha. And then you have Yamamoto and Saguchi, who have depth to them as well. And then even Tanaka you feel bad for, which we're going to talk about him in a second. But him and Dobu, they've done horrible things, but you kind of like they feel human, which is hilarious because they're all anthropomorphic animals through Otakawa's eyes in this. But they feel human. They feel fleshed out and real, and you're just like, it's not so simple as, oh, that guy sucks. You kind of get where they're coming from, even if you disagree with it. So yeah, Tanaka, God, with the blood on his hoodie and just hasn't eaten in days, it looks like, hasn't slept in days. It's really bad. So they pull up, and there's Tanaka with the gun. And he had that one bullet left this entire time. And Otakawa's like, isn't that the guy behind the skull mask? And he's like, you're right, that's my gun. He's like, well, should we just run for it? And he's like, no. Otakawa gave the option of them leaving. They could have left him there. He's like, would everything be ruined if you're shot? And he's like, he had 6 bullets, count them. So 2 shots at the cabaret club, 1 shot into your house, 2 shots during the car chase, and 1 shot of me at the harbor. And for a second I was like, oh yeah, he's out of bullets. But then it hit me. I'm like, the shot at the harbor was not Tanaka. It was somebody else. he had 1 bullet left. So, yeah. And then it all goes down. I'm surprised that Otakawa got out and talked to him. That part was a bit scary because I was like, oh, he could shoot. I did not know how this was going to go down. And I feel for Tanaka. I feel for him because at this point, he's like, the newness of seeking vengeance has wore off. The thrill and the adrenaline rush of seeking vengeance has wore off. And now he's just tired and bored. And he's like, my life's been ruined. And I just don't see the point. I questioned whether he was going to shoot himself in this scene. I wondered if he was going to hurt himself, if that was going to be a thing. But nope. And honestly, I thought Otakawa was in danger. The animation on Tanaka in this scene was crazy. He just tilts his head and like looks. It was very unsettling. It was very eerie. Did not like it. But he's like, spare me the scornful old man lecture about being on my phone. And Otakawa's like, okay. He's like, I'm 41, not old, but okay. And he's like, I was probably in a hurry. It's not an excuse to take something important from you. But as a taxi driver, that was inconsiderate, and I'm sorry. And you know what? If Otakawa hadn't apologized and he hadn't bent down to bow to him, the eraser wouldn't have fallen out, and things could have ended poorly for Otakawa. He could have still been shot because Tanaka's desperate and was seeking vengeance still. But man, what a turn of events. Shirakawa giving him the eraser, something she was given from Dobu. And then because Shirakawa liked Otakawa, she gave him the eraser. And then it all comes back around. How the tables turn. And even Tanaka, who sees the eraser, which is what he's been going on this entire like crusade for, questions whether or not it was an extra and whether or not it's the real thing. He's like, where'd you get this? He's like, I gave that to Shirakawa. The moment Dobu said he gave it to Shirakawa, I was like, you're going to get shot. Because you're the one that started this whole thing. Not Otakawa. Otakawa was a player in it. But he's like, my superior, I guess you'd call him, knows Donraku. He's like, more than 15 years ago, I got that. It was a long time ago. And then Tanaka's like, only one of these erasers was sold. It was the only one in the world. But there could be leftover inventory at Donraku's house. He's like, what are you mumbling about? He's like, giving back my gun. It wouldn't be odd if an acquaintance had one. After that, we can settle. And he's like, no. That's when he brings up the name Ditch 11. Ditch 11. He's like, oh, I don't know. And the thing about it is, Dobu has lied very easily throughout this show. But he plays it off in such a way that you kind of don't realize that he's been lying, but he has been, and he's been called out for it by the show, but he's just like, whatever. Like, he's a thug. He doesn't care. And he's like, do you play? He's like, right now the number 1 ranked account is Ditch 11, which makes sense that Dobu would play. We've been seeing him on his phone in previous episodes. He's like, I sent the account a message to confirm something, and they said they did, which he tricked Dobu because he didn't send the message. He was just lying to him about it. They conned me out of that money when I was in grade school. He's like, I don't give a shit about that. He's like, let me see your phone. I want to see if it was installed. Now, the fact that Dobu didn't give him his phone immediately, I was like, ooh, buddy. And he's like, I'm going to kill you. And he's like, do it, kid. And now Otakawa was like, I think a little bit hesitant that there's no bullets. And he's like, now, wait a minute. He's like, they have icons, don't they? So show me the icon. And I can confirm it because he sees people as, wow. And now that you look at it, it's like, yeah, that is his face. And that's how Otakawa identifies people, is by making them animals and remembering that way. And then he's like, oh, it's you. And he's like, wait a minute, how did you? And he's like, that's right, you can tell. And yeah, he's like, I remember now. I used to play Zuden. Just, you couldn't get yourself out of it. He's like, they both lied. And he's like, since then, my life's fallen apart and it's your fault. And honestly, Dobu eggs him on. He says, don't try to act tough. Oh. And yeah, yikes. Oof. The part that we should all learn from this is that shooting Dobu did nothing. Shooting Dobu did nothing. Tanaka was still, like, that scream that Tanaka's voice actor lets out and that just wail of despair was horrifying and heartbreaking. And I know in my country we've been having a lot of gun violence recently. So my soapbox moment, my 30 seconds of this, is that him shooting Dobu did nothing. It did not make Tanaka feel better. It did not help him. It did not do anything but essentially kill Dobu. Did it fix everything in Tanaka's life? No. Nope. And those types of incidents never do. They don't fix things. So it just, it was heartbreaking. Considering everything that's been going on in my country the last several days, I was just like, just horrifying. Horrifying. And I'm just glad Otakawa wasn't shot. But yeah, that moment, nothing, it didn't help anybody. He shot him and it didn't do anything for him. I feel for Tanaka because, like, his whole set of events leading up to this moment is just kind of heartbreaking and really sad. Meanwhile, Otakawa's like, what did I just witness? Okay. He's like, take me to a Dr. Otakawa. But you know, Dobu just told Otakawa that he was going to kill him and Shirakawa and everyone else too. And Otakawa's like, you know, you kind of did bring this on yourself. So there's going to be an ambulance come and get you and take you to an actual hospital. So you'll receive proper treatment there. I'm going to leave this key for the guy that you took the money from, you know, and I'm going to get out of here because, yeah, no, I'm not going to get involved in this at all. So Otakawa taking down Dobu. Check. Getting the money back to Amai. Check. But now he has Yano and Saguchi on his tail because they recognize him. And they're chasing him with the remaining 100 million. So then we have Big Diamond left out on the side of the road where the cop car was taken by Saguchi and Yano. And they beat the crap out of him. Which, honestly, Saguchi has demonstrated in the last several episodes that guy... Which, the crazy thing is, he beat, like, Big Diamond up so much. To the point where, like, his whole front of his shirt is just covered in blood. The fact that Dobu could beat up Saguchi, and Saguchi did this to Big Diamond, I think says a lot. But yeah, so then his brother shows up beside him. And I love the monologue that we get from the little brother. He says, you always called me an idiot, but in the end, you were the bigger idiot. He's like, yeah, maybe you're right. I love this discussion between the two of them. He says, was it Yano's crew that beat you up? That's something, because I'm like, this guy's still packing a gun that he's used on Dobu, so he could use that again. He's like, we should arrest them for interference with public duties and inflicting bodily injury. And Big Diamond's like, yeah, but I'm going to get arrested too because I was helping Dobu. He's like, of course you are, because you're evil. I love him looking over his brother and crying. Like, that's such a good shot. You sided with Dobu and I'm going to have to arrest you because you're evil. And he's like, you're right. And he's like, why did you side with Dobu? You're an idiot. You lied to me. You promised we'd punish evil together. So he reaches into his pocket and he pulls out the duck with the little helmet, which Otakawa has the same duck with the little helmet in his car. The same one's there in the taxi cab. So this little duck that is in both Otakawa's vehicle as well as the Diamond Brothers, I was wondering what the connection between them has been the entire time, and we get it in this episode. He's like, do you remember this? And he's like, what's that? I think I remember seeing it when we graduated from police school. And he says they give it to you once you stop receiving payments from the foundation. So, once you stop getting payments is when you get that. So when they graduated from police school and were able to get a job, the foundation stopped paying them. And he says, from the foundation for kids orphaned by traffic accidents. So the connection between the Diamond Brothers and Otakawa is the Diamond Brothers, a taxi cab driver, caused them to become orphaned because of an accident. For Otakawa, a traffic accident caused him to be orphaned as well, and the foundation paid them. But once you stop getting payments, you get this little... It feels very... I don't know. It feels kind of insulting that you're given a duck with a little helmet for safety on it, being like, we're not going to give you any money anymore. You're on your own. I think that's interesting because that makes things interesting, whereas Otakawa has the same duck. So that means he stopped receiving payments from the foundation, but the landlord talked about the foundation stuff still paying and checking up on him. So how does that work? I'm assuming we'll find out next week. The person who gave this to me is Dobu's boss. So that adds up lots of things. So basically, Kuro gave out from the foundation. So that means he's connected to them, but he's also this mob boss. So the idea that a foundation giving out, I think that makes things interesting, is that this foundation that is doing philanthropic work is also connected to a mob boss seems kind of true to life, which is interesting. But Big Diamond found that out. And he's like, that's why you helped Dobu. He's like, I'm sorry I didn't tell you. So I guess in some respects, did Big Diamond feel obligated to help Dobu because Dobu was connected to the foundation that helped him and his brother, and he still wanted to receive payments? But then how does that translate to Otakawa? Is Otakawa trying to take down that foundation in itself? I'm interested. I want to see what else we get from the rest of the series involving that, because that's fascinating. You've got a strong sense of justice, and I didn't think you would forgive me. And he's like, I'm not going to forgive you after all. But he's like, I will because you're my brother. I love Little Diamond. He's like, I can't forgive you for what you've done, but I can forgive you because you're my brother. I'm like, aw, the law won't forgive you, but I wish it would. I love the conflict they show with Little Diamond here, that he has such a strong sense of justice, and he knows that the law isn't going to forgive Big Diamond, but he's his brother, and he's like, I still wish that it would because you're my brother. And he's like, what Yano and his guys did is even more unforgivable. We're going to go arrest them. I love that shot of the two of them together. That's so cute. I love that. I'm a little worried because he has a gun and isn't afraid to use it, but that shot of the two of them as they're getting carried away is so good. Bless. So yeah, what else can we talk about in this episode? I really thought I'd have more to say this week for Odd Taxi because I thought things were going to be coming out of the woodwork, but it's really not. At this point, it's like, how is Otakawa getting away from Yano and Saguchi? What's happening with the 100 million? Who killed Yuki? Was it Rui? Was it somebody else? What about Little Diamond and the gun? What about this foundation? What is Gariki finding out? What's going to happen next? Who knows? That's the crazy part. Who knows? Wild times, y'all. Wild times. So I'm pretty excited for next week when we get the season finale, and then we have 2 more weeks after that, which is exciting because I'm not ready for Odd Taxi to be over. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts down below about this episode. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back next week with the season finale of Odd Taxi. See you then.